I'm Ted Zellers, and I run the Industrial Hygiene Program at the University of Michigan. And I'm going to try to give you just a very brief whirlwind summary of an effort that we've had going on here at Michigan for almost 2 years now concerning the Michigan Healthy Nail Salon Cooperative. This was a collaborative effort between WHWB US, and the seeds of it were started soon after the US branch was established and headquartered here in Ann Arbor. And I want to acknowledge my co-authors here. Stephanie Saylor has really done the vast majority of the work that I'm going to describe to you today, and she's my colleague here on staff at the university in the School of Public Health. And then Albert Tien, who's been our collaborator at WHWB US. I should also mention Marie Ann Rosenberg, who I will mention later, but she should be up here as a co-author, and I forgot to list her there. So I suppose many of you know or can otherwise imagine that working in a nail salon presents a number of health hazards, and these would range from inhalation or dermal exposure to the chemicals that comprise the products that they're applying to their customers. There are biological hazards, most notably all sorts of nail funguses and then some bloodborne pathogens. In the ergonomic realm, you can see from the postures that a lot of the workers have to assume in order to do their work that they're very awkward and can lead to stresses. There is some repetitive motion and even some forceful exertions involved in their work. And then on the labor practices side, this topic was the subject of a series of New York Times articles. They did an expose on nail salons in the New York metropolitan area and exposed the fact that workers there were being exploited, being asked to work long hours at low wages with few benefits or protections. And if you think about the fact that here in the United States, the vast majority of nail salon workers are of Southeast Asian origin, and most of them happen to be Vietnamese. Most of them are women, and most are self-employed. And I put that in quotes because although they will appear to be working for a nail salon, they're typically independent contractors. So you might consider them to be part of the precarious worker population. They're certainly vulnerable. By virtue of the fact that most of them are immigrants, we consider this to be a global topic, and they're certainly underserved. So we thought they were a good population to study and to reach out to. So the problems with nail salon work have been recognized for a long time, and there's been a huge growth in this industry. So there's been a lot of studies done, particularly over the past decade or so. And I just grabbed a few titles here of articles, some of them dating back to 2008 or 2009. But there are articles dating back actually 30 years. I found a reference to exposures to nail salon products there. Most of these studies concern populations of workers on the West Coast or the East Coast, and there's not a heck of a lot of information on what's going on in the Midwest. So that was part of the motivation for us to pursue this endeavor. So given all the work that's been done, we have organizations like OSHA and NIOSH who have published documents. These are guidance documents for how to perform this kind of work more safely. Even here in Michigan, we have state OSHA, and they have a very nice guidance document for us to refer to. And there are other state organizations like in Washington and California that also provide websites with information on them. And then there are a number of NGOs popping up, and none more notable or as prominent as the California Healthy Nail Salon Collaborative. This organization was the first of its kind, and still I think is the best of its kind, and we're certainly modeling our cooperative after this organization. They've done some great things, research, advocacy, even had some legislation passed on behalf of nail salon workers recently. But despite all of what we know and all of the information out there to guide us, these are small businesses, and they suffer a lot of the ills that small businesses do everywhere, and that is that there just aren't enough people to look out for the workers. And I just grabbed this little ditty off the web because it talked about Minnesota, not Michigan, but still it's the Midwest where I think perhaps there's a little less attention paid to this worker population, in spite of the fact that they're just as at high risk as anywhere else. So we formed the Michigan Healthy Nail Salon Cooperative, and I spelled it right this time, back in early 2016. And I actually couldn't find the exact date when we coined this term and started this organization, but it was about then. And our goal is to ultimately have this be a worker-directed organization. This is community-based public health, and we want to raise awareness about health and safety issues and just create a healthier nail salon community. And we've got three themes that we pursue in our endeavor here: education, advocacy, and research. And as we're developing those three themes that I'll talk about a little bit more in just a moment, well, we have a partnership to start with, and that was with WHWB, of course, and then we're in the School of Public Health in the Department of Environmental Health Sciences in the Industrial Hygiene program there. But over the past couple of years, we have reached out to a number of organizations, many of them here in the university, but we are an official affiliate of the California Collaborative. We have an outstanding student organization. I can't say enough about them, and we've engaged as many students who are interested as possible in our activities. Marie Ann Rosenberg, who I mentioned at the outset from the School of Nursing, is now taking over leadership of this effort, and she and I are co-teaching a course, in fact, an experiential course on this topic. We've engaged faculty and students from the Asian Languages and Cultures unit here on campus to do translations of materials, but also to try to help us understand the culture of the workers and worker populations. And we just recruited someone from our Industrial and Operations Engineering Department, where our Center for Ergonomics is, because ergonomics is such a prominent issue here, and they're going to be helping us do some consultations and walkthroughs. And then last but not least, we are a NIOSH Education and Research Center, and we get a training grant from NIOSH. We call ourselves the Center for Occupational Health and Safety Engineering. And this provides funding for a number of things, most prominently for offsetting educational costs for industrial hygiene students and occupational health nursing and other students. But they also have a little bit of money left over for promoting seed grants for research. And then they have something called the Visiting Partners Program, which allows practitioners to come in and collaborate with faculty. And then I have some discretionary funds through the Industrial Hygiene Program, and we've been able to apply some of this funding to some of our efforts. So, as I say, we've been operating for about 2 years now, and we have a number of activities and a few accomplishments to note here. And, of course, these lists are too long for me to go into detail about all of them. But on the research side, we have done some air sampling and product compositional analysis in the area. We've developed a formal 55-question survey, and we're doing focus groups to try to learn more about the community. On the education side, we have a website with a lot of useful information. We've generated a bunch of brochures. We're working on developing online video modules. We're talking to the beauty schools in the area that train many of the workers in the salons, and so we're trying to get some more health and safety into their curriculum. And as I mentioned, Marianne and I are teaching this course on this topic. And then in the area of advocacy, again, I'll list the brochures again because we feel that this is part of our outreach. But we're providing consultation and walkthroughs, and then a certification program that we're trying to pursue. That's one of our goals. I'll talk about that in just a minute. So let me just give you a brief glimpse to a few of these things. This is the landing page for our website, mihealthysalons.org. This was mostly the work of one of our students, Shandar Briggs, and he did a great job here at putting it together. And as I said before, it has a lot of useful information on it. Early on, before we even coined the MHNSC moniker, we reached out to about 35, I think it was actually 38 salons in Ann Arbor and in the surrounding towns, just to let them know who we were and what we were up to and try to solicit their input and involvement. And we've since gone back to many of these salons to try to let them get to know us and try to develop a rapport with the population. My colleague, Professor Batterman, and his postdoc, Lishuan Zhang, got some funding through the center to do some air sampling and some product sampling. And here's a table of some of their preliminary results, which they've just been accepted for publication, this whole study here. And just a quick summary, they found that they detected 10 VOCs in some, if not all, of the salons they visited. The DF column here is the detection fraction, how many salons they found the chemical in. You'll note that the concentrations were quite low. These are in micrograms per cubic meter, well below TLV levels. But perhaps the most notable thing was that they found vapors of methyl methacrylate. And methyl methacrylate is no longer allowed to be used in any nail products, so it looks like there might be a little black market going on. This is used for artificial nails. It's cheaper than the EMA, which is the recommended substitute. So that was an interesting finding from that, among others. We did the preliminary survey, which was, again, part of our introduction of ourselves to the community, and we've since done 5 focus groups where we've invited members of salons to meet with us, or we've gone to their salon and just sort of chatted them up and asked them questions about health and safety and what their level of awareness was. We found on the whole, from what we know to date anyway, that the health and safety awareness is ranging from moderate to low. Language barrier is very significant for many, if not most, of the workers. Typically, there are several that will speak English and understand English very well, and then a subpopulation that does not. And we found that establishing trust is essential, and that this takes time, and we're working on it. And although we developed our survey early on, we've decided not to administer it quite yet until we have, I think, a better odds or a better likelihood of their participation in that full survey. Meantime, we're reaching out and trying to provide information. So we've developed 5 trifold brochures. 2 of these have been translated into Vietnamese. The other 3 will be very shortly now, and then we're going to be generating 2 more brochures that we thought there was need for. And we're distributing these in little holders so that they can be made available to the workers. And then the certification project, this is really Albert Tien's brainchild, though I think he's modeling it after similar things that were done in California, where he's trying to establish this voluntary certification program so as to convince owners and workers to implement best practices. And the incentive or the argument that we're trying to use is that it makes good business sense, and that they could probably charge a little bit more money if their clients knew that they were a certified salon, and they might be able to put a medallion in their window to indicate so, and that's kind of the draw. So we haven't yet really launched this effort here in Ann Arbor, but Albert has been doing it in Cleveland, and he's contacted a couple of the leading salons already, and he's gotten some interest. And so he's talking them up and trying to convince them of the economic and image arguments for this. And he says seems like they're coming around, and once they do, then we can put together some criteria for them to follow and hopefully establish the first certified nail salon, either in Cleveland or in Ann Arbor. Meantime, we have made some conference presentations. In particular, Stephanie went to the NIOSH Use Conference, that's Understanding Small Enterprises Conference, that was in Denver in October, and she talked about our efforts. And then Albert talked about a little bit on our stuff, but more generally on WHWB. And so, with that, I just wanted to acknowledge all the people that have been involved in the project. And most notably, Stephanie, who really has been the driver for most of what I've talked about. This is Marie Ann. She's the nursing professor, and we're co-teaching, but she's an expert in qualitative research methods, and she's heading our focus groups. And then Albert and his smiling face, I just told you about him. And then here are all the students that we've had involved, and there are a few that didn't make I didn't have pictures of them, unfortunately. And this is Thuy-An Nguyen, who is a faculty member in the Asian Studies department here on campus. And we've just struck up a relationship with her to help us not only with translation, but as I said before, with the cultural aspects of our project. And with that, I will thank you for your attention.